Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Blondie's 2011 album, Panic of Girls. This album is actually a little difficult to get for free. It's not on most streaming services, I guess. So I've uploaded it unlisted to YouTube. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out. As an album, it's alright, but I'm not that surprised it's not to be found anywhere after listening to it because it's not great. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks I added to my playlist, 5 out of 11, so 1 under half. This album isn't great, but it's still pretty alright. The first 6 tracks are acceptable. There are just a few there that are really great, but most of them are just fine. The back of the album is really just not good. Between the covers and the songs that have lyrics not in English, the album feels all over the place and also super boring by the end. It really feels that with this album, some of the tracks are just super uninspired and just copying 2000s styles, not innovative at all. The not great songs still sound somewhat unique, but also at the same time super familiar. They're just subpar. The opening 2 tracks are really good though, and I feel like if this was just half an album instead of a full 11 tracks, it would come together a lot better. If they just cut it off at track 6 and then maybe added China Shoes to be track 7, I think this album would be a lot better. The genre is mostly sort of a rock synth pop, although with most Blondie albums there are a bunch of different genres sort of hanging around. There's a Latin style song in Spanish and a more French style song in French, as well as covers which tend to expand the genre instead of limiting it. Overall, it's not a great album. There's definitely some stuff here which I'm glad they released, but at least half of the stuff here, probably more than half, is not great. So there was only one single released before the album, Mother, and my favorite song here is probably the opening track, D-Day. It's definitely one of the best tracks on the album, and it goes a long way towards making the album not totally terrible. The first 2 tracks are really, really good, and then the rest of them are either all right or not great. So I rank this album last out of all Blondie's albums I've heard so far, underneath even their debut album. I feel like this one is definitely the worst, mostly because it doesn't have the consistent quality all their other albums do. They always go for a wide variety of genres. This is the first album where the level of quality has dropped enough that most of the variety hurts the album instead of helping it. There are songs here that are clearly don't really make sense in the context of the album. Most of the songs, they don't make sense together, and that would be okay if they were mostly good, but they're mostly not. So yeah, obviously this album doesn't take my top spot from 2011. That stays with Adele's 21, which is a significantly better album for sure. That one is a lot better. Yeah. Next up is Shadow of Whale's debut album, self-titled, released in 2014. Shadow of Whales was an indie band from Texas. They've broken up now, but they released 2 albums that I really like and I'm going to review because they're both pretty good. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And as always, stay minty.